Hey, good morning, everybody. Bubba Da Vinci here. It is Friday, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. Another day. Um, again, yeah, sorry for the content yesterday. Like I said, it was kind of a messed up day. And today, it just, the saga continues. As I put on there, I feel like I aged at least 10 years yesterday. Um, when I got up this morning and I looked in the mirror, I was like, "Oh my god, I actually think I have more gray in my eyebrows and every place else, and my beard definitely feels like it's whiter." Um, but yeah, I think yeah, the effects of everything I had to deal with yesterday was really taking its toll. Um, the uh, yeah, my friend who unfortunately took his own life, um you know everything was made more difficult because a he took his own life, and there was a lot of um you know emotions and everything else everybody was dealing with just that aspect of it. But on top of that, you have Helen, which is pounding the East Coast, and he was for easy purposes, he was in Jacksonville, Florida. He was actually lived just a little south of Jacksonville, but no one would know the name of the little town. And so everything is delayed. They evacuated huge amounts, huge portions of Florida cities because Helen was really kicking up. Storms this year have been horrible. Um, and so just getting through uh, to get information about claiming the body, getting things done, everything else. Everything was extremely delayed. Almost every phone call I made was either to voicemail or people saying they would have to get back to me as soon as they possibly could. Um, you know, Obviously, other people's funerals are delayed. You know, Getting anybody to give me burial information, unfortunately. So part of my thinking here, and part of there's a couple things I want to cover. Yeah, when we're young, let's say up to 25, you know, we don't think about the future. Or very, I shouldn't say we, very few people think about the future. If you're smart, you start doing a little bit of savings towards your retirement. If you're smart, you start thinking about, how you're going to allocate your money for long-term assets. If you're smart, you will set up a plan in case something happens to you. But you know, I would say up to the age of 25, you're still in the mom and dad will take care of me mentality, or someone will take care of me mentality. And so a lot of people don't even think about that. 25 to 50, the next 25 years of your life, um, you're in the game, right? It's like pre 25, you're young and you're dumb, and it's all about having fun and gaining experiences. And I don't disagree with that, but everything moves too quickly. And then 26 hits, and a lot of people still act dumb, but you start, everything, you're graduated college, you're doing whatever you're doing, life starts hitting you, parents kick you out of their basement, whatever the case may be, and you have to start growing up. And you know if you're smart, you start planning for the future. But again, most people don't. And I'm going to say 25 to 50, your 30s and your 40s, it seems like you're in the game, you're out there, you're trying to make money and everything else, but a lot of people still don't plan for their future. Then you get to your 50s, and you may come to the realization very quickly that, you know, 3/4 of your life, depending on life expectancy in your family. I mean, my family doesn't usually, the men in my family typically don't live past, again, I'm sorry, again, I'm going to turn the ringer off. Um, uh, come on, Ringer. I'm still getting text messages and emails for this. The Lost my train of thought. Yeah. Oh, in your later years, yeah, you probably start realizing that you should, but 3/4 of your life, again, depending on your life expectancy of your family, is potentially gone. Like I said, all the men in my family usually die between now 55 and 65 was like a really good run for the men in my family. So based on past history, medical history in my family, I'm already on borrowed time, right? If you were to, if that trend were to remain true. But some people live into their hundreds, but we don't start realizing how, how difficult it is for family members if, and other people if the planning isn't done. And we make a hell of a lot of assumptions. And so over the last 24 hours, I, in my life, I have some of my planning done, probably more than most of the people I know, but still not nearly enough. And I made a lot of assumptions based on past history that I'm finding is very inaccurate. So the first thing I had to do over the last 24 hours was figure out what needed to be done so my friend could be buried in a Catholic cemetery. Well, as I'm going through that process, I found out that he had never purchased a burial plot. And so it was like, okay, we all knew he wanted to be buried in the Catholic cemetery, but he didn't identify A, the cemetery, B, he's not from Florida. So are we going to be burying him in the state? Sorry. Sorry. All right. All right. I'm going to try to let this go. This is important, but not that important for right now. So, the going through this, it's like, okay, wow, more questions. His ex-wife wants nothing to do with this, even for her daughter's sake, and the daughter has no answers and is obviously very distraught and could not answer a lot of questions. So, I'm shooting blind, trying to figure a lot of this out. He has no other family, so going out there, but it's like, okay, so first, how does he want to be buried? B, I made the assumption, back in the day, if you retired from the military, and this was always my assumption, you got, the military would help pay for your burial. You got, burial rights. You get things like that. They've really limited, so you can get a free plot if you want to be buried in Arlington Cemetery or a military cemetery, which I don't believe he did. And getting a plot on one of those is a much bigger deal and more time consuming than I would have thought. Two is, if you died while you were on duty, you got full burial benefits, but they've changed it. Now, if you've retired from the military, you get like $800 in assistance. Well, calling around yesterday, I'm getting prices anywhere from $6,000 if I want to cremate him, or we get him cremated. The price goes down significantly. The plot size goes down significantly, et cetera, et cetera. But that's typically not a Catholic burial. So casket price, plot price, all the burial requirements, we're looking $8,000 to $10,000. Doesn't have insurance for it. Military apparently not going to help. His business was suffering. He's got more debt right now than he's got money. And the daughter definitely doesn't have it. He's got insurance, but it's going to be a while till insurance pays out. Military insurance pays out. But on top of that, that was clearly meant to go for his daughter for college and her expenses and things like that. All his assets he's upside down on almost every asset. So it was a very, it was an extreme day yesterday, kind of going through this stuff. And again, I just got kind of tossed into this, or three of us did, trying to do this because there was no one else. And he was a longtime military friend. And we just feel like we need to get this done. And then we're being told, because of these storms and everything else, it'll probably be, 2 to 3 weeks out before, if we can get all our ducks in a row, before we can do the burial. So was really eye-opening. I started looking at my stuff, as I was doing things, which is, is there an agreement on where I'm being buried? We have burial plots, but it's like, things have changed over the years from when, originally I wanted to be buried with my family. Now I have a family. Is that the same consensus on what's going to happen? Just burial cost. There's burial insurance, everything out there. I had put away money for my burial costs, but it's obviously nowhere near where it needs to be nowadays. I had put away about $3,000 towards burial costs, and obviously that price, is nowhere near where it needs to be now. Just things like that I just didn't realize. And then I was like, when was the last time I updated my will? It's been quite a while. When's the last time I made sure all my insurance is taken care of? Just all the things that, until you have to start dealing with this stuff again, totally hadn't thought of. Gets pushed aside until last minute, or until your family has to deal with it. So, while this stuff is heavy on multiple sides, it definitely got me thinking. And it's just like, and kind of a thing I just wanted to put out to everybody. It's like, you're never too young, and you can, and it's definitely harder the longer you wait. Life happens, things happen, and you don't want to leave that burden for someone else to have to take care of. For me, I think that would be very selfish of me and hard on my daughters if they had to do things. Yeah, exactly. Here, I'm going to post what wifey said. That's exactly what I came to realize yesterday, which was, it's like, wills, I mean, I don't think I had Jillian the last time I updated my will. I have 3 daughters now. And so, when was the last time I did that? And that also affected like, life insurance and things like that. It's like, is everything the most current and up to date? And so I decided, oh my goodness, I probably need to do a tune-up, of everything in my life to just make sure. And then I really probably need to set it where every 2 or 3 years to make sure everything is the most current, especially since I really believed that my benefits were much higher than they actually are, based on the changes that have happened in the military and other things. And it's like, you make these assumptions, and assumptions are bad. Luckily there was a couple bright spots yesterday, which is some of the things were easier than I thought. Was able to get approval to have him buried in a Catholic cemetery. The rules have changed so much there with all the suicides that have happened over the past 15, 20 years with youth and everything else, that the Catholic Church looks at it a completely different way. Getting him a military burial through the Knights of Columbus and the Catholic Church was okay with that. I still have to go to the diocese of where we're going to bury him to get final approval, but it doesn't seem to be an issue. But then now I've got to try to, I'm trying to find a gentle way to have his daughter help make the decision on what's going to happen. If we don't make a decision shortly, we're just probably going to say we're going to do it in Jacksonville, in the area that he's at. And that's just going to be what it is. But I feel like the other thing you need to do is you need to find who is going to be your steward of these situations. You know, his daughter obviously doesn't have the capacity right now to do this. His ex-wife has no want to have anything to do with this. You know, and you know, we're happy to pick up this burden. Not happy. We're okay picking up this burden for his daughter. You know, because that's kind of how it runs in the military, is like leave no man behind. But it's like you try to do what you can to make sure that you help your friends. And so I'm thinking, it's like, you know, if something were to happen to me today, you know, is my wife ready to step up into that? And people say, well, that's who should do it. But again, not everybody has the capacity in order to do that. And I know that would be tough on her, and none of my daughters would want to do it. And so who would I have as the steward of all this information and handling all this stuff for my family, or assisting my family? Look, just little things like that hit me pretty hard yesterday. And then, you know, that got me into all the other stuff that's kind of going on in the world. It's just like, you know, I decided yesterday I wasn't going to do a lot of reading on the internet, but I got up early this morning and trying to get back into a routine. And, you know, I decided I was going to do a little more of a deep dive. You know, all the surface stuff is kind of the same. You know, a lot of war footing going on. The U.S. looks like it's going to allow Ukraine to do the long range bombing, which completely changes the paradigm of what's going on in the Ukraine. So first of all, I don't think most people are completely aware, with everything that's been going on in the Middle East. The Ukraine's been going on for over 900 days. You know, Russia invaded them just slightly over 900 days ago. So that's almost 3 years that's been going on over there. Constant bombing, soldiers dying, you know, which is why it's kind of coming to a head. You look what's going on in the Middle East, you know, it's getting really serious over there. And then, so the deep dive yesterday, again, I think a lot of this is been spurred on because who I'm dealing with is an ex-military, a military comrade, buddy, friend, unit member that, you know, I spent many years with, and this would have been the way the conversation was going there. And so it got me into that military mentality that it's like, okay, I'm going to do a deep dive on this. And, you know, there was something in reports yesterday. It wasn't really overly evident, but yeah, you had to go and look in other countries to get the report. But, you know, a Chinese nuclear submarine, the second in the last year, sunk. So this one was one that they were building. It was a new class of submarine, and it sunk. They're kind of covering it up because it's very embarrassing to have a submarine that was getting ready to be commissioned. So they were doing their final testing on it outside the banks of Wuhan, and it sunk. They don't know why. They're embarrassed. You know, their satellite pictures of it happening. You know, as far as we know, they haven't tested the water yet, because if you're getting ready to be commissioned, the nuclear material should have been on board, which means that entire bay could have radioactivity now. If the depending on what happens, they're I think they're attempting salvage now. It wasn't, but I don't know, maybe half a year ago, that another sub sunk with and killed 50 to 100 people on board again. Chinese tried to keep it under wraps. It was only unveiled in intelligence reports. What happened was one of their nuclear subs got caught in one of their own traps. So in the Yellow Sea, so our submarines, the U.S. submarines, the British submarines, even the Russian submarines, everybody patrols out there outside the Yellow Sea and kind of circumnavigate around Taiwan and that, all through those waters, and to keep people out of what Chinese believes the Chinese waters, which they believe the Yellow Sea is all theirs, but there's disputes there. They have chains sunk in the water, and they're meant to trap submarines. They randomly drop them, and you can't see a chain on most sonars. And so what happens is the chain runs along the submarine and gets tangled up and basically locks the submarine up. And that happened to one of their own submarines. And I don't know if they sent distress signals or not, but basically the scrubbers got oversaturated because it couldn't surface, and they died of carbon monoxide poisoning. And they didn't even make an international call for help when they found out it was trapped. They just tried to take care of it themselves, and it just kind of went under the radar. But obviously the other countries know when a submarine goes missing, and then they found out that what happened. But the Chinese have been on war footing for a while now. Like I said, they were building a new nuclear submarine. They've been building battleships. They've been doing all kinds of other things. The Japanese have been having their warships, have more and more. Now, they have not, gone through any of the canals since World War II. We made the Japanese decommission most of their war machine post-war, and they've not been able to do it, but they've been building up. The big thing that shows that we're on war footing is the number of companies that are actually putting out new products. And this happens very quietly. You don't really see it on the stock market, but the new F-35s going out there. The Lockheed Martin has the new Mako missile, which they're getting ready to release. There's the new Abrams tank. There is the XM5 and the XM250 rifles that are now being charged up. There's, it's just like the Poland has a new tank that they have just gone and given to the Ukraine for this mission. There's all kinds of new new drones that have been developed and that are going out there. And even South Korea has a new engine for its howitzers. These are all things that have really ramped up in the last 12 months, and it's kind of flying underneath the radar. It's like, when you have like the MiG-31s, that have been dominating the skies for quite a while, but they're getting blown out of the sky at a faster rate, and so are their helicopters. It's like I said, everybody's building new stuff, and it's coming out at an incredible rate. And I haven't seen anything like this since the Gulf War. Now, so these companies are getting signals from someone. Lockheed Martin, all these companies, they just don't start creating stuff, without good reason. We don't put Typhoon missile systems in the Philippines unless we're worried about China, which has happened, by the way. There's a new Typhoon missile system in China. And so, you get all these hypersonic missiles being green lighted. China's got ICBMs that are now pointing towards Taiwan. The USS Wasp is now in the Cyprus, worried about, because of Middle Eastern tensions. All this stuff is just huge, huge, huge. And so, I've always been a beans and bullets sort of guy. We know that the countdown's happening over in the Ukraine. We know that Russia, we know that Russia is, having problems right now. We know that there's things going on in Beirut and everything else. And so I'm not worried about the, World War III happening in the aspect that, oh my God, I need to go get chemical gear, and I need to get this and I need to get that. But for God's sake, guys, we just came out of COVID and everybody remembers not having toilet paper and not being able to get basic products. And like I said, how does this stem from my friend passing away and doing everything? It's about being prepared. I don't feel like I'm prepared for those instances, but then I started thinking about military stuff, started looking at what was going on the last couple of days, looking at, the different countries that are all falling behind one or the other, as this is growing, looking at the weapons that are being ordered at really large numbers. Again, hypersonic missiles, things like that. It's like, okay, either everybody's nervous and they're just preparing, or everybody knows, depending on the way this election is going to go, shit's going to hit the fan. And while it might not come home here, it is going to come home here. Up till COVID, I always had a 12 months worth of supply of toilet paper in my basement, because, and when COVID happened, we didn't have to rush to Sam's Club or Costco or the store trying to find toilet paper. We just used our back stock of toilet paper for a year. And because prices were outrageous when that happened. And I have not been diligent on refilling all that stuff as time has gone away from COVID and prices have dropped and now there's not limits. But yesterday when I went in to look at the stores that we have for everything, it was like, wow, if I'm lucky, I have 30 to 90 days of everything I used to keep 6 months to a year supply of, because I've just gotten lax. And I'm just like, okay, like I said, it's time for a tune-up. The economy is, like I said, it's bad. There's a couple of little rebounds on the stock market, but that always happens when you play with numbers like this. But just like being prepared for the end of your life, you need to be prepared in a basic level. I'm not saying go crazy. If you live in an apartment, don't go buy a year's supply of toilet paper. Okay. But when there's 5 people in my household, when everybody's home, let me tell you, that's a lot of wiping, right? And 4 of them are women. And sorry, women use toilet paper at a higher capacity than men do. But you have to plan for that stuff. And just do a little bit of planning, try to put a little bit of extra cash away, try to just think about what's going on. Your estate planning, your, making sure you're taking care of you. I know wifey lives in a part of the country that, during COVID was notoriously hard to get supplies for. And wifey, you can tell me if that was true during COVID. You felt like some things were just incredibly hard to get. Being in Iowa, getting meat, our meat prices did soar, but we have cattle here. We have chickens here. It wasn't as bad as the people I talked to in California or Seattle or New York or Atlanta. Yeah. And just in other supplies as well, because it seemed like anything, when the world, paper towels, any paper product, when a lot of these supplies get brought in from other countries, or the containers that they go in. So the reason why things like laundry detergent and bleach and everything else, not only were people not at work making the product, but a lot of that packaging comes out of Asia. And we had shipping problems and things weren't getting shipped over here. And so, my wife has a medication that comes in vials, and she was not able to get her medication for like 8 months because they couldn't get the vials to put the medication in. And it was like, what do you do? What do you do if they only use what the machines and everything that they use in order to get to get, put these medications in and things like that? You can't get them. You can't get the materials, and therefore, and you're not going to go buy an entire new machine. And that if you did buy a new machine, guess where it was going to come out of? China, Japan, Taiwan, and nothing was shipping in. And so she had to try to do something completely different, which didn't do well by her, but she had no other choice because she could not get the medication she needed for pain management because the company who provided that could not get the materials they needed to distribute the material, right? And then you think of people like diabetics and things like that who need life-saving insulin. And if you're not able to get that stuff, I mean, you'd have a lot of people dying. So I'm just saying, again, I'm not trying to put anybody in panic. I'm not trying to convert, my limited audience in becoming, survivalists or, doing the kinds of things we do in the self-reliance area. I'm just saying, be smart enough to be slightly prepared. That's the way our grandparents would have done it. Right? It's like coming out of World War I, coming out of World War II, coming out of Korea, coming out of Vietnam. People realized that things were, it was harder to get things, to obtain things, and therefore you did whatever you could do to conserve and prepare. And I'm just like I said, I'm looking at this, and again, I don't want to be Mr. Doomsday, but I think that it's going to get much worse before it gets better. Russia's not only looking at the Ukraine invading them, which would be the first time since World War II that anybody has actually gone onto Russian territory. That's going to be a big blow up. China will have to get involved. Countries will have to get involved. But that happens, things are going to escalate. Russia provides oil to a large percentage of the world, not the United States, but the Middle East is already increasing its capacity of oil distribution. And there's a reason for these things, right? It's like, again, you got to read between the lines. Look at every time, right before a war, it's like the signals are the same over and over and over again. I just think what ends up happening is there's so long between when the situation happens that we forget the signals. I mean, I'll go do your own research. Look at what companies right now are posting earnings and what they're creating as part of it. Look at what countries right now are increasing their nuclear arms programs. Look at what countries right now are building new equipment for war. It's like, and things like this, it escalates to a point like, do you think Russia's going to back down after all these years? You put in 900 days, you lose all that equipment, you've got all that other stuff. It's causing a stagnation of their economy, and they can't afford it. Russia doesn't have a lot of natural resources. That's the reason they invaded Ukraine to begin with. Ukraine used to be their breadbasket. It used to be the Midwest of Russia. They don't produce in most of their territories that they own grains and things like that. They relied on the Ukraine. They realized that, and they needed it back. That's the reason they did that. North Korea has the same problem. Why have they starved and everything else? Is because everything north of that parallel, it's really not meant. It's mountainous area that is not good for growing, and it can barely sustain the people that it has there, which is why there's always been that divide. South Korea has to defend itself. So, and then you got things like we talked about this before. Temu is talking about it's reducing every category across their channel, and they're doing up to 90% off of their products. Why? Is because there's a glutton of cheap crap sitting in China right now in warehouses, and the Americans have slowed down their buying, and Temu is completely reliant on the US and European market buying that crap. And they expanded so quickly that they have absolutely no choice but to do these mass sell-offs in order to even do anything. And we already talked about yesterday, I think it was yesterday, it might have been the day before, $114 billion in bailouts from China, for their banks and for their stock market and for their people. And so, I don't see how, and here's a funny one. Someone just sent me this earlier today. They said, hey, we see that you've been talking about all the discounting that's going on because of the bad economy. I'm a golfer. Golf balls have gone on sale 90% across the board, and all golf products, because fewer and fewer people find the extra money to go golfing. I have just stocked up on 2 years worth of golf balls. Now, that's not what I'm talking about when I'm talking about when you're talking about stocking up on things. Although if you're an avid golfer and you can get 90% off golf balls, okay, I mean, why not, right? But I just that cracked me up. But again, it just shows, it doesn't matter what the vertical is, everybody's feeling it. Car companies are, every day I'm getting ads, or not ads, emails from people I've bought cars from and things like that with just massive slashes and discounts. And I'm just like, okay, well, I have the capital to go and buy these things for cash right now. I don't need another car at this moment, but these prices are fantastic. We talked about, getting ready to look at refinancing. I got an offer yesterday to refinance at like 6%, which is significantly down from when I was looking at buying a different property, but still not down. I want to wait till I think it's going to get to the 4s. We'll see. I might wait too long and then end up regretting it. But again, I'm just looking at all these different things that I was able to find. And unfortunately, a lot of it you're getting in a Ukraine newspaper, you're getting in British newspapers. Yeah, like I said, you have to deep dive a little bit, because the American media is it's ridiculous. And most of it's cover-ups and lies, and they get told what they should cover and what they shouldn't cover. And here's a British paper, and its headline is "Third World War Possible if we don't come back to our senses." European Council President Charles Michel warned all countries Thursday before the General Assembly of the United Nations for all countries to come back to their senses. The world is shaken up by an explosive cocktail of shocks and accumulating and accelerating third world war positioning, the worst that we've ever seen. If things keep escalating at the rate that it has grown, Michaels, the European Union and the United States will find itself in a position of possibly having to enter a third world war. He also called out China to not support Russia directly or indirectly in the war against Ukraine, because its influence is moving everything in a faster direction. Okay, quote unquote. So this is, again, UK papers and everybody else is covering what's going on in the United Nations and statements that are being made at the United Nations General Assembly, but you're not finding that in the US. Why? Because it's the presidential election. No one wants to touch a potential, forget even world war, a regional war. I mean, when you're looking at Russia and Ukraine and you look at the Middle East, if you look at that, that's a huge section of the world that provides so much to America and to and content and materials worldwide, mining, oil, just raw materials, labor. You just look at this and it's just like, okay, forget the interest rate. It's like if this shit blows up and now you got the General Council of the United Nations talking about it, right? But we keep, what we worry about, right, is that OpenAI is, which it is important. OpenAI is finding out that AI is growing at such a fast rate. They're changing their company status from a nonprofit to a for-profit company. Okay, genius. I'm all for it, right? I think that companies go ahead and do this all the time. You start as a nonprofit because that allows you to do all your testing. You're not trying to make a profit right away. You can write all that crap off and everything else. Then what you do is you form a different group that sells the commercial product, ChatGPT. Yeah. And that's a commercial product, but OpenAI is a nonprofit organization. So they were able to ask you to, donate your time, your money to support the program, blah, blah, blah. It grew at it's such a fast rate. And now everybody is coming up with their, okay. I just got an update from my daughter saying, okay, 140-mile-an-hour winds in Florida from Helen. Category 4 hurricane Thursday night. Now it's getting down to a tropical storm, but it's getting ready to hurt her. There's 3 million people without power as of this morning. See, this is what I was dealing with yesterday. So more than 1 million lost power in Georgia, another 400,000 in North Carolina, which is where my daughter is. Which is what she was just saying. And they don't know when they're going to get power back. So I've been dealing with this, here at home. I told my daughter to go get a generator and she refused. And now she's telling me she should have done that. She should have listened to her dad. Okay. All right. Well, here's what it is. So anyway, I guess long story short, guys, take a look at what's going on in the world. Go buy some toilet paper. Go tune up your will. Go take care of the things that are going to help you take care of your family. I don't think there's going to be a massive world war. I'm not predicting. I'm not, like I said, I'm not that doom and gloom sort of guy. But the writing's on the wall that things could potentially get worse before they get better, which is going to make the economy worse. We could be into a full-on depression, before things get better. And why not prepare a little bit? Hopefully after the next 48 hours, I mean, I took yesterday off. I'm taking today off to try to handle these things. I don't know if things are going to get any better when you have a power outage of 1 million people. I'm probably going to have the same results as I had yesterday, which is not getting a lot of answers back because obviously the storm's knocked out power. But I'm going to keep pushing forward as much as I possibly can, trying to get a date for the funeral, trying to get my own stuff done, and then really start looking at, like I said, my own things to see how good or how bad they all are. All right. I'm going to go ahead. I'm actually a little ahead of time. I was going to cover another topic, but I think that's enough for now. I'm going to do my polls. I didn't, just so you guys know, I did not have my meeting with Billy yesterday. My phone was so tied up with trying to make funeral arrangements and get things out there that I asked Billy if we could try to talk today. I will. Things are a little slower today, so I will try to talk to him today. I do anticipate doing a some sort of streaming event tomorrow. I have not been able to find a single person to play WoW with me. I put it on X, I put it on Insta. I called, I texted around and asked friends, and I said, look, I just want to play one day a week with a group of people. I mean, I've played with it now probably for a total of 4 or 5 hours, and actually started enjoying it. But and you can solo a lot of it, but there's so much content that you can't solo. Farm Dawn, you'll do it? You'll do it, actually? Okay. I would be happy to gift you guys, the accounts, because you have to buy the game. You'll Razor. And so, but I'd be happy to do both of that. And if I gift them to you, you get the first 30 days for free. And then after that, I don't know what it is monthly, like $6 monthly or something like that. So hey, 3 of us could do a lot. If you guys are really willing to do it, tomorrow morning, or tonight, I'll try to gift you guys both I'll find out what I have to do to gift you the accounts. And then tomorrow when I stream, what I'd like to do is make it completely random. So you guys download it and everything else. We'll pick a day and a time that works for everybody. And we only have to play like an hour or 2 per week or whatever we feel like, if you're enjoying it, whatever it is. But I just want to do one day a week. We don't have to do a ton. And then, the 3 of us will pick it. And anybody else that wants to join, I'd be happy to do the gifts to anybody that wants to play. Because again, I'm asking you to do it. It's once you own the game, then it's just buying time, and it's not that expensive to gift the game. But since you guys are doing it for me, let me please do that. And then I want to flip a coin or randomly end up choosing Horde or Alliance. And then we can kind of just go from there and start from level 1 and just play it. Like I said, the graphics are kind of a little bit older, but they've really added a lot of content. The world is so much bigger than I remember. And all I did, I played last night at 2:00 in the morning while I was waiting for some emails to come in. And I got on, and all I did was just go from continent to continent and tried to look at the new things. I must have died 50 times because most of the areas I went into were too high a level for me to actually run through. But it was just like, wow, they've really made this place huge. Back in I played it, 2008 was the last time I think I said I played it, which was Lich King. Yeah, the world was very small. And now it's very big. And like I think I told you guys, they got pandas, they got dragon guys, they got so much in there, it's ridiculous. So I will let me get the information tonight, find out how we all do this. And if you guys are really up for it, life is short. I'm game. No Easter egg challenges though. Okay, no Easter egg challenges. Gotcha. But luckily there's not a lot of in-game stuff you have to buy there once you buy the game. That was, I think, the biggest stress relief the other day, which was I had my phones on and I was just running around the territories and I was waiting for people to send me invites to do more Pokemon Go stuff. And I was like, I don't want to spend any more money on Pokemon Go. I'm just kind of done. So I got in this game and I was just running around, and it's still a grind, but it was a grind that I knew wasn't costing me additional money. So anyway, all right, let's go ahead and look. So we got Comfy, no go, Eevee, no go. Oh, Buckix. I actually need that one. I know I do. I don't have any of those. Charcadet, don't need it. Mewtwo, don't need it. Lacey, I got her yesterday. Sylvie, don't need it. Oh, I need that one. That was one I definitely needed. That's the reverse Purugly there. We got that one yesterday, so don't need that one. Here's the moment of truth. Oh wow. Okay. Uh Dushman, I actually need this one. Um Asking for your Aussie here. I'm almost done. The petition will be, we will go over it tomorrow. It will be in the show. I will put it up live. Um, I'm super pumped. I got a lot of people that said that they would actually support that. So I think that's going to be fun. I think if everybody does just share it and repost and everything else, I mean, I'm not getting anything out of this. I mean, I really think that I would, if there was one event in Australia next year, I would plan my entire year around that one Australian event. I mean, that's really how serious I'm taking that. I think it would be awesome. Um, yeah, so let's hope. Yeah, let's hope that we can make that happen. Clink, don't need. Hoot hoot, don't need. Imp, don't need. Taurus, don't need. There we go. Don't need. God, Toad Scroll, don't need. Kofu, don't need. Don't need. That's just going to go in the collection. Oh, Gravity Gemstone, reverse. I think I need that one. And then last is Malmetal, Full Hollow. Don't need it. Okay. So again, nothing for Billy. That's okay. So you have zero faith in an event happening in Australia. Really? Well, that's too bad. I think that heartbroken too many times. Again, I think if we can get enough signatures and send it out there and it can become a big deal, like people just saying they support it, they support it, they support it. I think Niantic is going to have to seriously look about it. The problem is that it gets tossed around. I talked with someone day before yesterday at Niantic, and they said we get pitched a lot of places, and the company looks at, the cost, the value, how much assets we have over there, and they said a lot of the time there doesn't seem to be enough community support to actually move it. And that their concern with, like in Australia, would be that it's a long flight for anybody outside of Australia. Yeah, I agree with you, Farm Don. Let's mend that heart. And so, one of the things I'm trying to put in the petition inside there is there's a I'm trying to, you can put, they suggest you put facts or information in there, and so I'm trying to there's a thing that you can do on Google Flights to look at like a 12-month history of cost of a flight. And so now I'm basing this on going to Sydney, because I think that Sydney's probably the airport most often used to go into Australia from any major city. But I'm trying to gather, like, hopefully by tomorrow morning, what I want to do is gather the blended average cost of the 10 major cities globally. So a couple in Europe, a couple in the United States, Canada, Asia, of the cost of round trip airfare to Sydney, Australia. And I was shocked. It really isn't that bad. It's the time. I don't think it's the dollar amount. I think it's the amount of time it takes to fly there, in comparison to the dollar amount. Because I was looking at the prices and I said, shit, I paid more to go to Japan or Korea, depending on how far in advance you book them and the time of year. And so, but if their biggest complaint is they don't think that people would be able to afford. Now, what I don't know is what the daily cost would be to be there. Meaning that I don't know what hotels cost in Australia on a blended average. I thought everybody could stay at your house. Missing. We just, everybody goes and says, don't worry about it. If you can get there, you'll host everybody. And then that gets taken care of. But yeah, I think that a little bit of information and data on the overall cost and putting it in there, because if that's going to be their excuse, is the cost for the consumer and the time, then that's a big thing. Now, the other thing is you were meant to in Brisbane. So I mean, I like I said, I did Sydney. Okay. Well, there must have been a reason then. Oh, then COVID hit. Okay. Well, that's a good reason to stop it. It's okay. It's okay. So, well, let's try to revitalize that. I don't know. I'll something. I'll see if I have time today to redo the numbers for Brisbane, since it sounds like you had government support. I don't know if there would be government support in yeah, that actually has happened in multiple areas where the event ends up becoming an Ingress event. But Ingress is pretty popular. You get in the Olympics next. All right, I'll look up flights for Brisbane. I know so little about Australia. I don't know how big Brisbane is in comparison uh, to Sydney, and I don't even know geographically where Brisbane and Australia sit, in comparison. I guess I should probably try to learn some geography, Australian geography. It's above Sydney, like directly. 10 hours by car. Okay. So it's like driving in Texas. It's like the difference between, driving from one side of Texas to the other. Feels like. Okay. Well, let's see what we can do. Let's see if we can get this going. I think that would be cool. I mean, wouldn't it be cool that sometime in 2025, maybe 2026, if worst case scenario, we get enough people to sign there that Niantic can't ignore the wants of the people. So, all right, guys, I'm going to get going. got a lot of stuff to get done today. I will check on the World of Warcraft stuff for those who want to participate. And I appreciate everybody's time. This was actually a lot lighter for me, even though started the stuff earlier. So my head feels better. Thank you very much. I hope all of you guys have a great day. Think about what I said. Try to figure out, how to do things well for the people in your life and for yourself. Just don't wait till the last minute, and be one of the people that are caught in the mess. And we will talk to you tomorrow. Peace. Have a great day.